Okay, we're going to sit here and create a dice that we're going to apply a texture to, and we're going to be using that and showing you how one way we can use UV wrap. It's a very simplistic way, but it works for a lot of small and for non-detailed objects. So we're going to create a new object, a cube, and I'm going to create it so it's big enough, and I've already pressed 6, okay, so that I can see any textures that are on there. Okay. Remember, 4 is the wireframe, 6 shows us the textures, and since we want to see the textures, we're going to want to see that there. Okay, so now that we've got that, we need to sit there and create a material. Now, since we're creating a material for this one, we're just going to hold down the right mouse button. You'll notice down here at the bottom, we can assign a new material, assign a favorite material, assign an existing material. Well, we're going to sit there and assign a new material. Okay, so we just select it and we let go of the right. It should bring up this assign new material dialog box. And for today, we're going to select a Lambert material. Okay, and you can see over here now that we have a Lambert material set up, and we could just change the colors and everything. That's all we wanted. Okay, but in this case, we want to assign a texture. So what we're going to do is this little square, checkerboard square right next to color under the common material attributes. We're going to select that. And the 4th item down is file. Notice how all these textures are already selected. We could have left just 2D, but notice it already knows we need a texture. And we're going to click File. Notice now there's a location here so I can have an image name. And so now I'm going to sit there and find wherever you happen to have the file that is associated with this, which is up in our timeline in the 3rd chapter 5. Okay, and I believe it's called default, I think, but you'll see it looks like this. So it's some of the faces of the die. Okay, click open, and you can see it's already been applied, but you can see we have a problem. Okay, because not everything is done. Okay. Not everything is there, okay? So now that we have this, we've got to figure out how to do it. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we're in object mode and select our object. Then we're going to go up to the Windows menu, and we're going to go partway down, and it's UV Texture Editor, okay? And you want to set your screen up so you can see this, and you can use the middle scroll wheel to scroll in and out inside the Texture Editor window. Okay, but I want to be able to see the faces I'm working on. Okay, now once we have this up, there's lots of settings in here, and the way I'm doing it's really not the way you're normally shown, but we're going to do it this way anyways. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit here and right click and hold and go to face mode. And I'm going to start with the top face. Okay, I'm going to select it, move away. You can tell I've selected it, and you can see where it is right here. Now, it's a little bit easier to see if you come up here and turn off the grid. Now it's a little easy, and you can see this little light green that's here. Well, we don't want that on these, because what I did is I actually snipped this from a picture on the internet. Remember, you have a snipping tool here where you can sit there and click it. The snipping tool is actually under all programs. This is if you have Windows 7, okay? And it's under accessories. Okay, so you can see there's the snipping tool right there. And what you can actually do is, and I'm going to show you real quick, is now I can sit there and snip something. So let me just snip the picture that's on the screen, nothing more than that. And I'm going to let go. See, and now it's the exact same thing, except I can now do a save as if I wanted to, and save it someplace. Okay? So does that make sense? Well, I'm going to close this out now, and no, I don't want to save. So now I'm back here, and you can see the selected faces there. Well, it doesn't look quite right. So what we can do is go up to here to where we separate the selected UV. And if we click it, you'll notice, well, wait a minute, that's got a scale. Well, press W. Now I can move it, and I can move just that where I want it. So I want to center it first. Then I'm going to press R for the scale, and I'm going to scale it this way. And notice I can see it over here, so I can get it to look exactly how I want it, so how far the dots are. It's actually okay if these overlap a little bit. In a perfect world, you probably don't want them to overlap, but in this case, it looks okay, except if you look, I think I see the little line there. So I'm going to sit there and drop it down just a bit. There we go. That should be okay. Now I'm going to go back over here, select the next face, and just repeat for every face that I'm going to be working on. Okay, and that's got to go there, and I want to move it over a little bit, and I want to expand it this way a little bit. And notice if I expand it too far, look what happens. The other dots start showing up. Okay, so you don't want to do that, obviously. Okay, that's good enough for what we're doing here. Now I have a face over here, and that face is probably going to be this face right here. So again, clicking the select tools, I'm going to move it, and since this one happens to have a middle, I'm just going to move this right into the middle. It just makes scaling it a little bit easier. And we just sit here and scale it over here. That looks good enough for our case. Now I'm going to sit there and rotate this. And the machine's being a little slow since I'm recording. It should immediately come in, so it's gonna take me a second or two here to finish, and I need to move it up a little bit so I can see. Come on, you can do it. There you go. Okay, 1, 2, those are the 3 faces I still have left. So I'm going to click on 6 now and continue going on my repeating here. Okay, and again, this one I can sort of tell where the middle is, so I can move it right there, and that makes my scaling a little better. And I want to scale it up a little bit. Actually, I think I'm going to move it up just a touch. There we go. And you see how I've got them pretty much centered there. Select this one. There's my 5. Okay, move them right in the middle dot. When there's something in the middle, makes it much easier. And we're just going to scroll it this way, and I'll scroll up just a little bit. That looks good. Last but not least is here. Doesn't look like we need much, but what I'm going to do, I want to get it more in the center. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, and when you're done, you're done. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the home position now. Well, first things first, I'm sorry. We need to click over here and go back to object mode and select our object. And I'm going to go back to the home position so we can see we've got our dice all squared away now, and it's selected. Notice it is selected because it's easier to export that way. So what we're going to do is I'm going to export this in 2 different ways. The first thing I'm going to do is go into File, Export Selection. So if this was, that way I know it's just this model. Okay, I happen to be already set up down here at FBX Export, but there's some other things in there. We want FBX. Okay. I'm going to sit there and go to my class folder, okay, so that I can sit there and stick it in there. And I'm going to call this first one Good Cube, because what we need to have done to have our textures go over is, see this little embed media? We want to make sure that is there. Okay, now one thing I have not done yet that I probably should have is I have not actually saved the file yet of the cube. Okay, but let me export the selection first. Okay, so that's the only one we really need, default file extensions and this one. Leave all the other defaults the same. So we're going to export. Okay, and just to prove to you it's there, if I go over here now and look in that folder, you'll see I've got Good Cube. It was an FBX. Okay. Now I'm going to select that cube again, but this time I'm going to export the selection, but it is going to be with that unchecked. And let's see, and I'm going to call this the bad cube, because then we can see what's going on with that. Okay. So that is how we apply a texture to an object. A quick and simple way to do it. So I can break the faces up. So if I had more faces, I could change it up even more. Okay, by splitting the faces or doing something like that. Okay, so that's all I'm going to put in this video, but the next video is going to have where we take these 2 objects and we import them into Unity, and I'm going to show you the right way to do that and some things that you ought to pay attention to, some details that you need to consider when you're importing an FBX object in. Okay. So